Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Obscure. My name is Tia, and I'm a film director, music video maker, and editor from Georgia. Let's get started. One of the subjects that I've been researching for many years now already has been migration. It's been a topic of one of my feature films that I never made, and generally, I looked at the subject from the perspective of running away. Running away has been a prevalent topic in many of my stories, whether it's running away from the country, running away from problems, running away from oneself, and just running away from everything, which is a very inherent feature of human being. Once we feel out of our comfort zone, once there are challenges in our environment with our views or whatnot, we tend to have this feeling of wanting to escape. And as one of the great escapers myself, I like to discuss the subject a lot. For Georgia, migration has been a problem for many years. We've been struggling with all those minorities in Europe which have been marginalized because of slavery and illegal acts. And every time you, as a good, just citizen, went to Europe, people would look down on you. And we needed years to prove that we're not just that. And currently we have a lot of musicians, doctors, social workers, or designers even, living all around the world and proving that we are a talented nation. However, here in Georgia, the society is crumbling. Well, of course, if most of the educated, smart, and ambitious population of the country leaves, and you are left with poor education, poor employment, no perspective for development, country is not gonna reach any heights. But what happens when the country itself is telling you, if you don't like it here, just leave? And in the conditions where in Europe also the conservative circles are trying to block the migration, not only in Europe, Trump in America as well, the circumstance for people like us is becoming even more rough. You can't go, you can't migrate because you're not accepted anymore, and then you can't stay because your own country is telling you that your opinion, your stance, but you as a whole being is not welcome here. And I have myself attempted to migrate for many years, but without any results. I'm a 33-year-old woman who speaks English and picks up some languages quite easily. I consider myself to be average intellectual. I'm not a genius, but as a working force, I could be pretty welcome anywhere, I think. There are only few perspectives for you to migrate from a country which is not part of European Union or whatnot. Either you have a lot of money and you are a huge investor who comes in with this money and gets this golden visa or whatever, or you are a poor, lower social class worker who doesn't even speak English and who is easily exploited on construction work, babysitting, granny sitting. For a person like me who is average on economical map and neither so poor and uneducated to work on construction, it's almost impossible. But then people like me right now are against the challenge that we have to give up on our careers, on our aspirations, and actually go and do the lower wage work somewhere in any country. And that's a problem. Not only for the country that we're going to, but also for the country that we're living. One way or another, I had a chance to travel quite all right in my life. It's verging between tourism and just guerrilla filmmaking camps and couch surfing in my friends' families. I wouldn't say I had a lot of luxury to go and see all the sights in Europe. However, I had a chance to go out into the streets, meet people, see the environments in the countries for 2 days, for 1 week, or for 10 days, or maybe in Italy for 3 months, where I would go around with this film campus and stay for 1 week in many different cities, be it in mountains, on the seaside, north, or South Italy. And I met a lot of people from various countries and cultures. When you spend so much time together, some sort of cultural blocks, let's say, are disappearing, and you're starting seeing each other as humans, which for us Georgians has been quite a challenging thing because I'm a 90s child. And when I was growing up in this old, crumbling Soviet style 4-story block and the outskirts of Tbilisi, we had neighbors who were Kurds and Armenians. And already then, I could feel the chauvinistic tendencies from our neighbors. It's like you're accepting the others, let's say, but you're always looking down on them and you're always angry that they're taking up workspace and your perspectives and your money, and you're living here and you're poor and lazy, which is not a problem, but they're working hard as they don't have any other choice and they're getting all the benefits. And our country has always been very accepting of various cultures and guests. We are known for our hospitality, right? Nonetheless, since the 90s, these nationalistic tendencies have been growing. We had nationalist revolutions, and now our government is using this against us, trying to call out all the bad nationalists, let's say, and get them out of politics, and offering us a new nationalism based on purely Christian, family-based conservative society where any different opinion is marginalized. And it's quite easy for them to get all those people who have been working out there in Europe on construction sites, on this kind of low-wage jobs, with the promises that, okay, you come back to the country, we shut it down, and we make our country great again, and you're going to be employed and you're going to get money, and all those foreign monkeys that have been taking your place are now going to be thrown out of the country and whatnot. But for me personally, this topic has been very important because I myself am a very mixed blood. I'm not purely Georgian. I have Ukrainian, Polish, German, Greek ancestry, and I always felt out of place in my own country. But also with Georgian passports, it wasn't very easy for me with my economic and educational conditions to get out either. So I had to find this kind of place that would be more liberal, but also accept me as a Georgian, even without me being very nationalistic and culturally centered individual. Right now, a lot of people like me are being put to jail or deported for expressing this kind of opinions. I wasn't very much an activist or involved in this kind of protest. I would always stay low and quiet and just do my stuff because I was already feeling that I'm not fully accepted and part of the society. Because of my Slavic ancestry, I was even bullied at school and called out to be Russian, which I was not. Even though we have some connections in the family, some of the Georgian families migrating to Russia and whatnot. Not too many, but we do have them. And both of my grandmothers would speak Russian, even though they were born and raised in Ukraine. So this kind of position held me in a very negative space since the war started already. With these kind of features, every time I went into the street, people would look at me as if I am this ugly Russian migrant trying to bring their country down. And I wasn't. I was always actively building communications internationally. That's kind of my best skill. I worked in international relations. I worked as a translator. And because of those travels, I have a lot of foreign friends. And I always felt comfortable in mixed environments. But right now, both of those identities that I have are unacceptable. My government is telling me that I should cut all my European connections because now I can't go out of the country. I'm a middle class, working class film director. I could already say I was struggling to get out of the country for just a travel economically. And now when we will have to be forced to also make visas, it's completely impossible for me. On the other hand, because of my Slavic ancestry, again, I get aggression for the other party who is also marginalized, the same as me, in fact, by our government. So what do people like us do? I could say that I'm quite conservative when it comes to relationships. I prefer to have a traditional, you know, dating into marriage and into family kind of relationship. Even though in my 33, I'm still a single woman, living on expense of my parents, which I'm not proud of. But even with my conservative personal life views, I've always been liberal when it came to general politics because I'm pretty open-minded, again, as I'm saying, coming from my own nature. I can't be nationalistic. It would mean that I would be just self-destructive. But also in the left now, the nationalistic tendencies are growing and rising because we never really had any other politics in our country. It's just either you are left or you're right, and our right is authoritarian, and our left also used to be authoritarian, but mainly nationalistic authoritarian. And now they're kind of shaking hands together and kicking all the others out. So again, what people like me are supposed to do. I find culture a pretty unique thing. I respect it. As an artist especially, I love different forms and architecture and painting and costume. However, in modern world, those have been disseminating, and that's probably why a lot of countries are trying to push this nationalistic narrative. And because of that, people like me are being sacrificed in this generation. I'm not in the age where I can't start over and start changing careers, but also I'm not young enough to spend 10 or 20 years for learning new skills to the point where it would answer to my skills and potentials, I believe. So what should we, people with mixed bloodlines, do? We reinvent America and migrate to this continent where we're establishing a new nation where we don't care about mixed blood? Or what should we do? And that's partially also the reason why I've been struggling with finding a concrete ideology or thought group to join. I've been always sitting somewhere in the middle and stubbornly taking this mediating position. However, in this kind of times, it's really difficult to stay in this position. Because if you want to bring changes in your own country, you have to have a very clear-cut strategy, set of rules, set of reforms that you explain and base on the interest of other people as well, not only on your own. Let me know what your thoughts are. Thank you for your attention, and don't forget to follow, subscribe, and support.